Hi and welcome to Scott's Inverts. I'm Scott. In this video, you're gonna see an invert. Before we crack on, are you subscribed? If not, hit that subscription button for me. Watch the video in full, and if you like it, give me a thumbs up. Also, feel free not to. Now, today's video is a Smeringurus mesaensis, the Dune Scorpion, coming all the way from the US of A. He is absolutely stunning. And with that said, let's go check her out. So up on the screen is my male Smeringurus mesaensis, commonly known as the Dune Scorpion. And these scorpions are found around Arizona, California, Nevada, Utah, and New Mexico, mainly around the edge of the deserts. And living in temperature ranges from 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, and they enjoy a humidity range of around 40 to 60, which is pretty easy for us to achieve in the enclosures. Now, a lot of the information online will tell you that these are terrestrial species living above ground, but they do actually go fossorial. So a piece of cork bark is just enough for them to burrow underneath and hide away, exactly like they would do in their natural environment. They can get up to around 8 centimeters in length, which make these a lovely smaller scorpion, extremely easy one to keep as well as. Now, with it being a smaller scorpion, we have just gone for one of the smaller baroplastic tubs, and we've gone for potting compost. Now, with the potting compost, I'd like it to be a little bit drier than what I've got on screen, but it will dry out pretty soon, and I'm going for a 50-50 mix with some sand, again, to mimic that natural environment of the edge of the deserts. Just while we're mixing that up on screen, it is worth noting that also online, it is stated that these are actually a nocturnal species. Now, this is true for when they're in the wild, but what I found is in captivity, mine, especially the ones I've had in the past as well, tend to come out in the day just as much as they do at night time. Whether this is because we bring them in from the deserts and they feel safer, who knows? Maybe they realise that there's no predators around. But a lot of their senses actually come from vibrations on the ground. Now, we're going to mix this in really, really well. And I'll show you the bag of sand that we use, because you're probably thinking, Scott, it's red, it's toxic. I assure you it's not, it's completely fine. So we've gone roughly around 3/4, halfway up the side of the baroplast, and I'm going to add a little bit more sand in there, get a proper 50-50 mix. Now, it's really easy also to attain kind of 50 to 60% humidity, because what we're going to do is just put a water dish in, and the amount of water it holds, we're going to overfill it by that much each week, and just let that slowly evaporate into the enclosure. And that should hold around 50-55% humidity, especially in a smaller enclosure like that, perfectly well. Now, I am mixing this as best as I can. Don't worry too much if it's not a perfect consistency all the way through. The scorpion's not going to be too bothered. I think it's more important that we get that natural feel in the enclosure more than anything. Tapping it down, and what reason for tapping it down is basically, and the soil mixture, it is so if the scorpion wants to burrow, hopefully it'll hold the burrow a little bit more. Now, here's the bag of sand that we used. Now, the reason I bought this is because in B&M it was reduced to £1, and when I got to checkouts it was 20p. Clean and safe, rounded grain kind of to eyes, but more importantly, non-toxic. So absolutely perfect. Yeah, it was just literally bags of sand at the end of the summer. I think I picked up about 6 different coloured ones, purely because through the summer they're about £7 or £8, and they were just getting rid of them. And they were £1 each, and when I got to the checkout, they were 20p. So I bought 2 bags, and when I found out there was 20p, I obviously went back and bought some more. Now, these are bits of cork bark that we've put into the enclosure, and with the hope that our scorpion will burrow underneath them and create a little hide and little home underneath those. But I do change it up in a minute, because around the edge of deserts, we don't just get soil and sand, we also get pebbles. So I thought, let's try a little bit of enrichment again, take the cork bark out, And if you ever do an enclosure, there's nothing wrong with stopping halfway through and taking bits out and putting bits back in until we're happy that the animal that's going into it is going to be more than happy and feel more at home. And that's what I thought about with the pebbles. Just a little bit more of that naturalistic feel underfoot. So we've gone for some tiny little pebbles. There is a bit of dry moss that's worked its way in there. That's completely fine. And then the cork bark's gone back in. I found this little seed pod, which again, I'm going to chuck in. Again, more enrichment, like the edge of a desert where you'd find more debris. And we are almost ready to rehouse. We do need just to add the water dish, a little bit more dry moss. Again, that's just mimicking the edge of the deserts where all the debris kind of is hanging around. And I'm just creating a very, very shallow, very small starter burrow under both pieces of cork bark, just to give the scorpion a little helping hand. Now, the water dish is just a little bottle top of a bottle, topped up with water. Now, I'm not going to overfill it because that substrate's a little bit over damp, to be honest. I mean, it'll be all right in a couple of days. But what I am going to do is come back and slightly overfill that water dish, just so the same amount of water that it holds just spills over the side. So you're looking at probably about 4 or 5 mil of water, if that, and that will be enough to hold up the humidity in there. Now, these guys, I found these to be very active, very full of life, and just a beautiful scorpion to have in your care. And as you can see, he does not want to go in there one little bit. Now, this is just typical of the species. They never want to play ball, and they are escape artists. As you can see there, they just want to get out. And you can be a little bit rougher with scorpions than what you do with spiders, because that exoskeleton's a lot tougher. And I'm moving the catch cup around the side just in case he does want to pop out and come and say hello. But it is advisable to have a couple of catch cups because these will just fly out the enclosure surprisingly fast as well, very, very quick. They can catch you off guard. Now, the sting on these has been reported to be similar to that of a bee sting. I've never took a sting off a scorpion to date. I'll just try and be as careful as I possibly can. But if you ever have, let me know down in those comments. And we are nearly there. I pushed him in basically because if you don't, he will just keep going round and round the old enclosure all day long. So it's a lot easier just to give him a little nudge to get him in there. And again, we can be a little bit rougher with the scorpions. Don't panic too much. They're a lot tougher than the spiders when it comes to rehousing. And just look how beautiful this guy is. Absolutely stunning. Trying to push it towards the water dish to see, especially with the travelling to the show and all the rest of it, then to mine, maybe it needed a bit of water, but he's just settling in to the new enclosure, and there we have it. Absolutely perfect. Man, this invert keeping ain't half easy. Now, this is what I'm going to be feeding: mealworms, and all you have to do is just rub them across the claws at the front. Their sensory organs will pick up the fact that it's food and will hopefully claw down on it and start munching. Now, you want to be trying to feed once a week. If it doesn't feed, don't worry too much. These guys can go quite a long time without having any food whatsoever. But if you haven't got mealworms, or you want to mix up their diet, if you're looking at roaches, half the size of a mealworm is absolutely perfect for these guys to be able to take down, and hopefully be able to watch some sting action with these as well. As awesome stuff. Boom! That was the Dune Scorpion. And it's absolutely amazing in 2025 because we're getting more and more different types of scorpion coming into the UK. And hopefully more and more scorpions are reaching the hobby, whichever country in the world that you live in as well. And with that in mind, I think it's really important the work of like Tim Baxter and George over at Geo Scorpions with the captive breeding continues and continues for a very long time. And hopefully more and more of us will start looking at breeding scorpions as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Once more, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscription button for me. And as always, we shall see you again on the next one.